So bear with me through this thought exercise. Imagine that you are proposing to your dream spouse, that you have considered so many people, right? You have analyzed all of these different people. You've thought really hard about what exactly it is you're looking for. You've gone on dates with lots of other folks, and you've finally settled on this dream spouse, right? This potential dream spouse. You're convinced that this is the best fit for you. You're convinced that this is the one for you. So you get down on one knee and you propose. And instead of saying, oh my gosh, I'm so excited, this is the happiest day of my life, instead he or she replies like this. Oh, uh, thanks. Do you think you could just wait a little bit? Because here's the thing. I'm actually also waiting to hear from suitor X. And I mean, just between us, I'm really, really hoping to get off this other person's wait list. And the thing that would really help me make my decision is, do you think you could throw in a bit more money? Because this other suitor has actually offered me a ring that costs twice as much. And I mean, I love you and everything, but ooh, it sure is making my decision difficult. Now, how would this make you feel? Would this response fill you with love and warm fuzzy feelings, or would it sort of bum you out a little? It would bum you out. And this is the equivalence of what it's like when a school makes an offer to a candidate. They have read literally thousands of applications. They have interviewed, usually on average, the acceptance rate after interview is 50%. So they have interviewed or, gone on dates with, all kinds of people. It's like, reading the application is like reading an online profile. Going on the interview is like going on dates. And finally, after a lot of debate and a lot of reflection, they finally decide to give an offer to you. And then at that point, what a lot of candidates do is that they'll say, oh, I'm actually not that into you. Or, oh, I got this other bigger scholarship someplace else, or what have you. So this is a bit of a bummer for a school as well to be in this situation. They want to think that they are your first choice. And why is this? Is it because they are a super romantic? Oh la la. No, it's actually a much more practical reason, and that reason is yield. In case you're not familiar with the concept of yield, yield is the percentage of people who are offered a spot at a school who end up enrolling in that school. Right? So it's not the number of people who get accepted or who get offers. It's once they get offers, who actually goes to that school once they are given an offer. Yield is often used, especially by the rankings folks, as a proxy for how attractive a school is. After all, if one school, 90% of the people that are offered a spot at one school take them up on it, and at another school, only say 20% of people who are offered a spot at that school take them up on it without knowing anything at all. Anything at all about the schools, the names, what they offer, and nothing. Don't you already have a sense of which school is the more selective and sort of, which one is the more attractive school? Of course. So first of all, yield is a vanity metric. As with all vanity metrics, schools like to pretend that they don't really matter, but they matter. Of course they do. This also factors in a practical way into filling the class. And what I mean by this is, in the summer, what happens is that they will make offers, and people might pay the deposit, or they might ask for an extension on paying the deposit, and they might get a week or two or something. And then sometimes people will come back and they'll say, look, even though I paid the deposit, I got in off of someone else's wait list, and I'm going to that school instead. So now, all of a sudden, it might be June, July, and the school will find themselves scrambling to fill a spot. That's why so many schools have wait lists. The lower the yield is at a school, the bigger a wait list they have to maintain, right? Because there's so much more variability of people who are probably going to say like, oh, thanks for the offer. It's really sweet. That ring is so cute, but I'm going to turn it down. As a side note, this is often why schools will play games with wait lists. Right? They might waitlist you in round 1 and move you into round 2, waitlist you in round 2 and move you into round 3. Sometimes it's because a candidate has some weaknesses that the admissions committee wants someone to address. Sometimes if the candidate is very strong, it's because they don't want to get their hearts broken. So instead of proposing to you, they'll just be like, hey, yo, maybe we'll hang out sometime, right? They're trying to play it cool because they don't want to get their hearts broken. Or on a pragmatic level, they don't want to find themselves in June suddenly scrambling, like, 6 weeks before orientation, trying to find people who will fill the class. And this is also why sometimes they will play games with waitlists where if you are on the waitlist and if you are a very strong candidate, they might call you on the phone and say something sort of cryptic like, well, if we were to offer you a spot on the waitlist, would you say yes? And the reason they ask is because that way, if they offer someone a spot off the wait list and that person says no, then that counts against the yield because that is an offer that was turned down. So sometimes a school will do that, like they'll sort of call and they'll sort of say like, oh, hey. And to be clear, this is mostly the schools that have lower yields, right? The schools with the very high yields don't have to play these games because they don't have to. They don't play the game because they don't have to play the game. But a lot of other schools do have to play these waitlist games. This also helps a school appear more selective. Not only does the yield itself make a school seem more attractive, but it also helps in another way of a school's to enhance a school's selectivity. And that is if I know that, say, 75% of people that I give an offer to are going to enroll, that means I don't have to issue as many acceptances. I can accept far fewer people and still fill my class. Therefore, the acceptance rate goes down. Right now, instead of having to accept 30% of people who apply, I only have to accept 17% of people who apply. If I'm sort of reaching for a target number of people to enroll, and if I sort of back into that number, I work backwards. I know, as an admissions officer, I know at the end of the day exactly how many people I want in the class, and I also have a rough idea of which sorts of backgrounds I want those people from. There's no quota, there's no cutoff, but if it were just about GMAT score and great grades, then all of these business schools would be only filled with people from McKinsey, Blackstone, and Goldman Sachs, and there would be nobody else from any other company at all, right? So they have the number and they have sort of a rough idea of the sorts of folks they want to let in. So if they work backwards from there, that determines how many people they give acceptances to. So of course I as a school want to improve my yield because that way I don't have to accept as many people and then I look snootier and more elite. Yes, that's exactly what I want as a school. So why am I telling you this? I'm telling you this because in this business, right, my friends and I am actually friends with some other admissions consultants, with some elite ones that I have met through my time, when I was previously a board member of AGAC. So we have talked about this phenomenon that we have seen very strong candidates rejected by quote unquote lower schools, and the only possible explanation is a worry about yield. That's the only logical, rational explanation is the school says to themselves, look at this person, look at the 760 GMAT, look at the sterling, not even sterling, let's call it a platinum. They have a platinum resume, not even sterling, not sterling silver, not gold, it's platinum with diamonds in it. They have the most amazing resume we've ever seen. We're not going to let them in. And we're not going to let them in because if we let them in, they're going to turn us down and we're going to be heartbroken and our numbers won't look as good. So this is a very counterintuitive thing. Sometimes people think that the acceptance, that their chances of getting into a school is pretty much linear based upon how selective the school is. Like, well, this school has a 20% acceptance rate and this school has a 40% acceptance rate. Therefore, my chances of getting into a given school are twice as high at this one, at the 40% school than the 20% school. While mathematically that's correct, if you haven't shown any interest whatsoever into the 40% school, if you literally visit the website for that school for the first time on the day that you create your account and the day you upload the application, that school is going to know that something's up. Right? They're going to know that something's up. They're going to know that, guess what? Maybe this person just maybe they applied to a bunch of schools round one, right? Maybe they just got rejected from their final round one school. There's 2 weeks between the round one rejections and the round two deadlines, and coincidentally, they're suddenly pretending to be interested in my program. If I let them in, they're not going to come, right? And the example that I just gave is sort of a fake, made up one, but the point is, we have seen this a lot in admissions land where people are like, oh, a school that is ranked at X is sort of my target school, and I'm a very competitive person for that school, so I'm going to apply to a school that's like 10 spots lower. Um, but you know what? We've seen it happen. I've seen it happen so many times. If I hadn't seen it happen, I would not be talking about it right now in the video. I would be saving my time. I would not be wasting my time telling my time. I would not be wasting your time. I've seen it happen. So the point is, until they put a ring on it, in other words, until a school gives you that acceptance letter, you have to treat every single school as if though it's your first choice. You have to sign up for the email lists. You have to go to the events. You have to reach out to the students. You have to click on the emails when you get them in your inbox and click on the link and pretend, you read the article, or at least you can pretend to read it, right? Like sort of, maybe start scrolling down while you're looking at your phone, right? Or something like that. So that way it gets tracked in their system that you did this stuff. And the other side note, kind of on a less exciting level, and this might not be something you want to hear, but I would not be doing my job if I didn't tell you this. There's a very good chance that that school that right now you're thinking of as your safety school, it might end up being the only school that ends up accepting you, right? People tend to sort of severely underestimate how competitive this process is. People tend to severely overestimate how strong their profiles are. And so, sometimes, back when I used to do more intensive one-on-one consulting, I would say to them, okay, have you signed up for the email lists of, we're looking at sort of 8 or 9 possible schools. Have you signed up for all of the email lists? And they're like, no, I've just done it for like my top 3. And it's like, okay, that's great, but you have to do it for all schools, because you don't know when, going into this process, the school that you mentally are ranking number 6, it might end up being your number 1 school. Like, on the bummer of a reason. There's a happy reason too. Don't hate me. The bummer of the reason might be you might just not get in anywhere else because subjectivity, luck of the draw, maybe they just happen to have just accepted the last person who's exactly like you 2 weeks ago and they're out of space. You have no idea. There's so many different things that could happen. Who knows? So that could be part of it. Or on a much happier note, and I've seen this happen so many times, as you go through the process and as you start researching more schools and as you start, maybe you visit the school to interview there, maybe you start talking to more students, a school that at first you may have, just between us, I won't judge you, but maybe you sort of lifted your nose up a little at it and you were like, that school, I'm not applying there. But maybe you start to do some more research and you realize, wait a minute, that school, how many of their graduates do they send to Amazon? Amazon is my first choice company. Wait, whoa, look at this school. Look at how many people they send to Amazon. They send or wow, I'm really interested in whatever, social enterprise. And actually, look at this program. They have an entire center for social entrepreneurship. They have an entire center to do that. Look at all these classes they offer, right? So that's the other reason that a school that maybe at the beginning of this process you're not ready to propose to, maybe as you get to know them more, as you go on more dates with them, and as you hang out more, and you go to the movies with them, and then you go on a hike with them, or whatever it is. I haven't been on a date I've been married for a long time, so I don't remember what dating is like, but I think it involves things like going to movies and hiking, right? I think. So as you start to get to know that school more, it might end up becoming your first choice school. So why limit yourself now? Get on all of those email lists. I just mentioned sort of 9 or 10. Honestly, maybe 15, maybe 20. Because, you're not really sure how this is going to play out. And at the worst, again, it's just 1 or 2 clicks. It's just a few seconds of fake scrolling. I know that's weird, but that's a weird tip, but it's a practical one. If you if you scroll too fast, the system might say oh, this person's not really reading. But if you sort of scroll in a slowish way while you're actually reading your, Twitter or something on your phone, that could be a way to do it so that you're not actually spending your entire life reading all of these different blogs. So That's my analogy for why schools want to feel very, very loved. Of course, they know that you're playing the field. Of course, they know that you're applying elsewhere. They wouldn't expect you. If you go to a school and you're like, you're the only school I'm applying to, they're not going to respect that, right? They might be flattered, but they're also going to think, wait a minute, how bad is this person's judgment? Right? Do we really want to let in someone who is such a reckless and thoughtless risk taker? Yee, that doesn't bode well. So don't apply to just one school and say, you're my only choice. They know that you're applying to other places. They know that you're playing the field. Just like when you're in those early days of dating, you know that the person that you're dating is probably also seeing other people. I'm just saying, like, as you move through the process, they're going to think back and be like, oh, actually, this person, every time I called them, they called me back. And, whatever those dating indicators are for commitment. So show every school that you love them until you've got the proverbial ring on your finger. Thank you.